and then we'll be good.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the Game Breeders Association. I have the Vice President of the South Carolina, sorry about that, Game Breeders Association with us, Dwayne Ard, and he's going to tell us about showing. He's going to tell us what's going on in the GBA world. He's going to tell us about some upcoming events. And we're also going to talk about a little bit. We got a lot of questions about culling, what traits to look for in culling at different points. And when we get to our Q&A section, we're going to pick Dwayne's brain and see what traits he looks for in his breeding program when it comes time to cull. How are you, Dwayne?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. So right here we have this presentation that we put together, and if you're ready, we'll get started.
I'm ready. Yeah, this is a book of show standards. We have it available. It was actually written for the United Game Breeders Association, and it's just a book of standards. Kind of gives you an idea of what to look for, what disqualifications would be, what defects would be, that sort of thing. I'll be honest with you. I look at birds, I cull birds, I choose birds, I choose my brood pens a little differently after reading this book, studying this book, taking a test, and becoming a certified judge for UGBA.
Yeah.
And
so this book, y'all sell these, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you can contact me on Facebook, or I can give them my phone number if you want. They can contact me, and I can get a book shipped out to them. They're $25 plus shipping, and it takes care of everything from American Gamefowl to even the Bantam class. Cause we do like a Bantam class for kids. It's got standards for Bantams. It's got standards for American Gamefowl and Oriental fowl, ACOs, and whatever else.
Okay, good.
And
we got a lot of questions about this, about disqualifications.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, the book is a set of standards, and not every judge interprets those standards the same way. And it's because you got one guy who likes the way a bird feels better in the breast or the back or whatever else. And he looks for that in his birds. So that's what he's judging for. And it can get a little touchy sometimes, but we had a scenario this year. Our president is also a judge. There's only three certified judges in South Carolina right now. And I'm one and our president's one. And anyway, we had a scenario where I had judged both pairs as a mated pair, and they were dead even. Two different classes, but they were dead even. And he went back and judged the same pair to break the tie, because in a tie, when it comes to mated pair, the cock carries more weight than the hen. So, but these cocks, I had scored them exactly the same. The hens were exactly the same. And he went back and judged the same pair. And I was surprised, but our scores was 1 point different. So I think we're pretty consistent.
Yeah, that's definitely very consistent.
Yeah. And, but the disqualifications, you have to look at everything, crooked toes, parrot beak, split beak, roach back, and the comb. It's got a section here for comb, but that comb only really matters except for in ACEs, because in American fowl and in the Bantam class, we're not really a stickler on that, because usually the Bantams, we only allow kids to show the Bantams, and we want the kids just to participate. So
right,
we prefer the Bantams, the Old English Bantams, to be trimmed as well, but the all American fowl have to be trimmed in order to be shown. No manipulated pupils. You don't want to have crooked toes or web foot like a duck, or that sort of stuff. That's what we're looking for. And if you got parasites, that's a disqualification. If the chicken looks thick, if I pick the bird up and I'm trying to judge the bird and he's blowing bubbles out his nostrils, that's a disqualification.
You shouldn't even took that bird to the show house.
You'd be surprised. See, a lot of it is his own hands and having the bird in your hand and judging him. But at the same time, we put them all in dropout pens, and you're able to walk around and move around and see how the bird moves. You want to be moving fluid. When you pick him up and hold him in your hand and he's got a bad hip, you can't tell it. So I like to get the birds out the pens, dropout pens myself, because if that bird's stupid and he hits me, I'm gonna DQ him. I'm not gonna deal with a man fighter one bit. I don't deal with it on my yard, and I'm not gonna deal with it at the poultry show. No,
I don't blame you for that.
And there's a difference between a man fighter and a rooster. It's not. You take a bird off your farm and you carry him around a bunch of other birds, a bunch of other people, and everybody walking by looking at him. He's a little stressed. You can tell a difference between a bird who would hit you because he's stressed and a bird who hits you because he's a man fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the man fighters, they got that craziness in them, and they're not scared of nothing.
Yeah. We had a scenario where a guy had brought the rooster up to because see, before they're judged, we have to do NPIP certification or the NPIP testing for polio and typhoid, and they all had to clear for that. And he brought the bird up for us to do the blood testing on him, and he muffs on him. And I was like, "What you got them muffs on him for?" He's like, "Well, this one's a little spirited." I said, "I don't care if you got muffs or not. If I reach in and get him, he hits me, I'm disqualifying him." But
spirited,
yeah.
That's one way to put it.
That's the horse. That's what you call the horse right before he bucks you off. Spirited.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, let's see here. It talks about. This even talks about the tails being split or squirreled or rye.
Yeah. Squirrel tails, rye tails, and you can tell. And and there's another part in here where it talks about deductions. When you open the bird's wing up, if he's got 7 wing feathers on the right side, he should have 7 on the left side. Same thing with the tail feathers. This book is pretty in depth. And it's got a section here on the comb, and I don't review. But see, all these bow-legged and knock-kneed or whatever you want to call it, you really don't see that holding the bird in your hand. You got to let them get down and move around. And sometimes, like with the with the weary tail or rye tail, the bird, you got to take in consideration too, because if he's standing just right and there's a little bit of breeze, if he's got a nice tail, it'll blow his tail over.
Yeah,
and you got to walk
at
around that dropout pin and make him move around to see if he's actually got the rye tail or if he's actually the wind's affecting him. Yeah. And that crooked breastbone.
Yeah, you don't want that.
You'll be surprised how many birds you pick up that looks beautiful. Their breastbone feel like a snake's trail.
How much of that do you think with the knock knees and the crooked breastbone, in your opinion, what do you think is nutrition related and what do you think is bad genetics?
Well, honestly, I feel like there's a lot of scenarios that can contribute that. Yeah. I think, sometimes not switching out legs on tie cords can affect that.
Poor management.
Roost poles. My old mentor used to tell me, sometimes you pick a bird up and there's a dip in their breastbone. And he'd tell me, well, this one ain't no good. He's lazy because he lays on his breast on the perch pole all night. And that's why he's got a dip in his breast. But I think a lot of that, as far as the leg deformities, it probably comes in from a lot of nutrition when they're chicks, I would assume. That's what I've always assumed.
Yeah, I think it starts in the beginning. I mean, if somebody bred birds that were like that, then it would probably pass through. But I think that's going to be nutrition related. And the other being crooked on the breast, it could be lazy bird. Me personally, when I pick mine up that I've got on a tie cord, Saturdays is when I do I call it my chicken chores. And that's when I go out there, I handle every bird, no matter how many I got. And, I pick them up, I feel them. That lets me know if they're getting fat or if they're the way they're supposed to be, what their fleshing is like. And I'll change that tie cord over. And I change it every week. And they'll all be on the left leg one week, and they'll all be on the right the next. And I mean, that's just what I was taught. You change that up because, it avoids those kind of problems, and it avoids them come show day walking around funny, not knowing how to walk or not knowing how to act.
Well, my mentor, he always told me, I've always had perch poles on top of my barrels. And but basically because of him, because he always said that if you don't have a perch pole on top of the barrel and the bird just stands there and his feet are sliding out, that the blue barrels or the plastic barrels would cause them to have spraddle legs. I don't know if there's any truth in that or not, but I've never. I've always had perch poles, so I've never really tested it to see if that would cause that effect. But
see, like our generation, we can Google so much and find tons of different answers. But if your mentor was like mine, he was an old timer, and he probably learned those lessons the hard way. He probably tried it a few different ways. And that's
back
experience.
In that generation's when they fed them styrofoam and thought it was making make a difference. But I'm gonna have to go kill my dog. You hear him?
Yeah, he's getting jealous.
It's because I'm not with her.
Hey, let her in.
I'm gonna have to.
This one right here looks like it's got the beaks at the top. Some examples of that.
Yeah, you don't want that split beak or the beak crossed over. You want the beak to be true and be where it needs to be, and the wings as well. And you don't want, like in the wings, sometimes you get a twisted feather and the feather's turned backwards on the feather and that kind of stuff. You don't want any of that either. And but this parrot beak, where it's really open. There's a lot of some birds. I find birds that are fed in cups all the time. And if you know that, and if you notice, it seems like their top beak is a little longer from being fed in that cup where you don't abuse it on the ground as much. And then as far as that crooked beak, that's where they've either been damaged as a chick or bad genetics. and that causes that. And then, you don't want the flight feathers to flip up and be on top of the primaries, and you don't want and you don't want the wing to be twisted up to the point to where the secondaries is over top of the flight feathers to the point that it looks like it's tucked.
Right.
And you don't notice this when they're on the ground. When you're in your hand, you want them in the ground. And like I always pull the wing out, and I hold the wing out straight and turn it loose. And a good bird is healthy, is in good shape and well hydrated, and everything's in good shape. And when you pull that wing out straight and you turn it loose, it should pop back in. It shouldn't be no lag, or it shouldn't hang down. It should pop back into place. And I check both wings, and you got to open the wing up either way to check for, if they've had a broken feather, that's a deduction, or if one of the feathers is falling out and growing back in, it's not the same length as the rest of the feathers in that set. That's a deduction. So you got to check for that anyway. So you might as well check for the reflexes in the wing to make sure that there's not a problem there.
And a lot of this stuff, we talk about show selection and all that, but I'm going to look at this before I decide whether or not I'm gonna breed this bird.
Right.
If I got a cock that I think is a good bird, but I don't know, I'm gonna start looking at the feathering, the primaries. I'm gonna pull the wing out. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna pull it out again. I'm gonna count the feathers. I'm gonna count the feathers on the other side. I'm gonna feel for the fleshing, because that's what I want in a solid bird. And the easiest way to get that is to start with that.
That's exactly right.
You take a proven bird that it has won a show and it does well, looks good, feels good, acts right. That's what you want to breed forward in your breeding program.
Well, see, in this book, just on the wing alone, the wing is broke down into 7 categories. I mean, you got the front of the wing, the bow of the wing, the bar of the wing, the secondary feathers, the primary feathers, the primary covert feathers, and then the wing shoulder itself. And you got to, it's more than just a wing. You got to look at everything. And like on our over later on our scoring chart, there's a bracket on there for the neck. And every chicken's got a neck. So what are you scoring on the neck? Either is you ain't trying to feel the skeletal structure of it, and that scoring of the neck is like you got to look at the hackle feathers. If they're broken hackle feathers, or missing hackle feathers, or there's the hackle feathers are, how sometimes they get too much protein, the feathers will fry up a little bit and get dry and curl. You got to look at all that when it comes to the judging. You're not really the category is neck, but it's not actually the structure, the bone part of the neck.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that makes that up.
It is.
Let's see. We have a question here that says, would you get rid of a bird who's gotten sick with coccidiosis? When you have time, I'd love to hear the answer.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, coccidiosis is something that's so easy to treat. And it affects so many other animals. Puppies get it and die from it all the time. Chickens get it and die from it. You can give them some cord or some whole milk or milk and bread, and you can take that milk and bread and soak bread and milk, and they'll eat it, and it'll help with the coccidiosis.
See, for me, if I get a bird that gets coccidiosis, first thing I'm going to do is get it away from the rest of my birds, because it's extremely contagious.
Right.
And I'm gonna make sure my pen's clean, and I'm gonna throw some lime down, which I throw lime down once a month, pretty regular. But if that bird survives with very little intervention, I'll give it some bread and milk, stuff like that, but I'm not gonna go crazy with it.
Yeah.
But if it does that, and that bird has the feathering, has the body structure, and everything else that I'm looking for, well, now I've got a bird that's also been sick and recuperated. Mm-hmm. So it's got a better immune system. It's going to have more hybrid vigor. It's going to throw me, if it's a hen or a rooster, it's going to throw me better chicks that are going to have a natural resistance built up.
And also you got to take in consideration, coccidia is going to cause them to lose weight. And a lot of times people misdiagnose coccidia and they try to treat coccidia when it ain't nothing in the world, but their chicks is wormy. And usually when I get a chick that I start seeing, usually you'll see some blood on the stool, and that's the first evidence you'll see. I pick them up, I check them up, and I feel them, and I see if they're really poor, and if I see any other signs of sickness. And then usually I'll give them either the milk or the Corid, or either LS50. LS50 was a great product. Still hard to find, but it was a great product. But you can give them LS50 the first 5 days of their life, and you'll never have to worry about it. But give them that, and if they don't clear up in about 3 or 4 days, I go looking more for worms than I do coccidia, because a lot they present themselves the same way.
Yeah, they can. So for me, with my chicks, I'll start them out when they're a couple of days old, and I'll feed them raw milk, and I'll put some of that in there in the brooder, and I'll do that every couple of days for a couple of weeks. And from what I've learned, that helps them build up that gut bacteria,
right?
That makes it where that don't really happen. So,
well, my chicks, when they're born, I do 1 boiled egg for every 10 chicks.
Yep.
For the first week. So, and you can take that boiled egg and a couple teaspoons of milk and mix it together, and they suck it right up. And but I do 1 boiled egg for every 10 chicks for the first week, and then I do I increase the egg amount as they go up. And I think that boiled egg is key. And it's I use fresh eggs. I boil fresh eggs, and I don't give them the shell for the first week and a half, and then I'll start incorporating some shell in with it. And but it's easy. You can take that boiled egg and a couple teaspoons of milk and mix it up, and it's gone in no time.
Yeah. They'll tear it up,
because you don't want to leave that egg in there very long, because I put it in. Usually I'll put it in there and I'll come back in 15 minutes, and if it's not gone, I take it out because it'll go bad.
Yeah, see, that's me when I do the raw milk. I'll start doing what I'm doing in my barn. I got a barn where I brood in and do all my incubating and all that. And I'll go in there and I'll give them that milk and feed them. And after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, there's no signs. I ain't got to stop watching nothing out there. But after it's been a while, I'm going to pull it. Because like you said, that stuff, it can go bad, and you got a whole different set of bacteria to worry about.
Yeah, because 90% of the time, our bees they're in a heated situation where they're warmer than that, their regular air temperature anyway. And you presenting that egg in a warmer situation, and it accelerates the deterioration
quickly.
Let's
see, on the screen here, we've got those disqualifications where it's talking about the feathers and the wings, and there's also some examples of the feet too.
Yeah. If you start getting into the point where you have like a broken spur, or more than one broken spur, crooked toes. Crooked toes have every deduction or disqualification. The deductions carry weight, but you don't want webbed feet, and you can tell if you've owned chickens very long, you can tell whether or not their feet are webbed more than they need to be. And that prop toe on the back, you don't never want that prop toe sucked up underneath the foot like a duck's foot. That's a disqualification. And see, all this stuff is stuff that you can't tell. If someone else picks the bird up and hands it to you, this is stuff that you cannot tell by not watching it move about. And when you pull that wing out and you count those feathers and you look and you see that split, you'll see it just like you can see the squirrel tail. That's when it's you see these birds with the tail curled up where it's touching the back of their head almost. That's pretty easy. and that rye tail part of it there. That's just, like I said, you got to be very careful to make sure, or a cock with a big tail, with a lot of streamers, a lot of sickle feathers, the wind affects them a lot more than one that's got a smaller tail. And you got to make them move around in the pen to make sure that it's not the wind affecting that. And a lot of it, and like I said, a lot of this stuff, it depends. Each judge is looking at things. Like for me, I may focus more on the tail and on the wings and not so much on the feet, as other judges maybe focus more on the feet and the toes. And it's personal. It's a personal experience, from one person to the next. But you got a guideline to go by, just like you took a driving, you had a handbook when you took your driving course. But after you get your driver's license, you don't always ride down the road on 2 and 10.
No. Sometimes lucky to have one on there.
Yeah.
All right. This is the coop tag and the judges scoring right here.
Well, see, with us, not every GBA organization does it the same way. We have ours broken down in 11 different classes. We do dark-legged redbirds, light-legged redbirds, dark-legged graybirds, light-legged graybirds. And then we have a breed for dark breeds. That would take care of your warhorse, your black round heads. The red quills would fall up under that category too, brown and reds. And then we had the white birds, bluebirds. We do join the muffs and toppies together because there's not usually that many of them. Then we have an Oriental class. And then we separate those. I call them transvestite chickens and hennies. We separate them out separate. And then Doms and the Spangles. And then we have go ahead.
That's good.
Then we have the Spangles, and then we do a kids class.
Yeah.
And let me go let that dog in before I had to kill him. I'll be right back.
That's all right. I like the fact that y'all have a kids class, and I like the fact that y'all are very, very easy when you judge that. Because there's a lot of old heads out there that want things to be a certain way, and they don't necessarily like it. But I like getting kids involved because this showing chickens is something that not everybody's into, and I think that's why we need to get the younger generation, because the kids of today is the us of tomorrow. And we're that old head of next week.
Right. Well, see, we don't, and we give away a grand champion. We give away a trophy for a grand champion. We do grand champion cock, grand champion hen, grand champion mated pair, and then grand champion in the kids class. And then we do, out of these 11 categories, we give a ribbon for first, second, and third place in each one of those categories, as well as the kids class. We don't give out participation trophies for every kid in the kids class, just simply because I don't think that's right. I mean, that's a lot of the problems wrong with the young people today, because
everybody gets a trophy.
Everybody gets a trophy, but it's with the coop tags though. This is what the UGBA on that coop tag category. They just do the black-breasted reds. Light leg, dark leg, gray light leg, dark leg, hens, mated pair, open, and oriental. But we've added these other categories so that we can break it down a little more. And what we do is we have 20 dropout pins. We put 20 dropout pins out, and we'll call up black-breasted red or dark-legged reds, and everybody will bring their cocks up in that category. We'll put them all there together. And if we need more dropout pins, we'll get them from somewhere. But we'll put out all those dropout pins out there together in a row. That way, when I'm looking at hatch birds, I'm looking at every hatch bird at the same time. And then when we go from that category to the next category, our secretary and our treasurer who takes care of the scoring, they can be tallying those scores while we're judging the next class, so we can move it along a little better. And it works better for us by having more categories, because a lot of times when you go and you'll have not to be picking on the hennies, but a lot of times if the henny was dark legged and you grouped him in the dark legged red category, a lot of times the henny is not built like let's say a blue face or something like that would be built. And when he's got to be judged against the standards, against all the rest of the red birds in that category, it makes it harder for him to win. You know what I'm saying? It'd be easier for him to win in his class if it was just, if it was everything he was judging against was hennies.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because they are different.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have a different feather structure and, different plumage. And when you go down this here plumage, you got plumage, you got tail, feathers, neck. And, if you got let's say if you got a yellow-legged henny, and you judging in against a big sweater cock with a big, huge tail, he's not going to, the tails won't compete. It don't cross over and don't work that great together. Right. So we've got everything broken down. We do 13 classes actually.
I mean, that's good though, because again, I like for apples to be apples and oranges to be oranges.
Right. Yeah.
So, let's see. Alan McGee here wants us to go back to this disqualifications. And Alan, I don't know if it won't let me blow it up, but you might be able to screenshot it and zoom in on your phone and see it. It may let you do that, but this is a list of all the disqualifications.
Was there one thing that he was particularly interested in?
Let's see. He might answer us there. But that's one thing that, I didn't, growing up handling chickens, I didn't realize that a lot of this stuff was a thing. And then when I got into showing,
yeah,
I started hearing people talk about stuff and I'm like, what are they talking about? And then, I found a book and I started looking at it and I was like, oh, so there's a science behind this.
Well, see, not only that, a lot of folks thinks, that this is a waste of time, to come and bring you birds, these poultry shows and stuff. And, it's truly not, because this may be a person's main line of defense when it comes to keeping their birds. If there's a situation, because, it's like, this is what I tell everybody. Just because I own game roosters don't make me a cockfighter. Just because I own a sawzall don't make me a catalytic converter thief.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And coming to these poultry shows, you'll get a certificate, you'll get ribbons, you'll get trophies if you win, you get the experience, you get an opportunity to spend time with like-minded people in a perfectly safe situation, in a scenario to where you're doing something legitimate with your birds. And there's nothing wrong with what we're doing. And and then at the end of the day, when the police comes to your house and they want to know, hey, what you doing with all these birds with your comb cuts? Why you got their combs cut? Well, in our standard book, our breed standard book that we have, this book right here, it comes just like this.
Pull that book out and show them. This is what I got to do to show them.
It says that they have Oriental birds on the disqualifications. An American fowl has to be dubbed. And if they're spurs, now if it's a stag, and everybody knows what a stag looks like, if it's a stag, we don't require them to have the points cut off. But if it's a cock and you bring him there and he's got a 3-inch long spur, if you got a choice, you can either cut that spur or it's part of it. It's in the disqualifications, because it's unsafe for the judge. It's unsafe for the people there. And because we don't know what your bird's going to do. And it's
that's another reason not to have man fighters out there.
It is. But, a bird that wouldn't normally, it may be perfectly fine at your house. When you go take him and put him around 200 more people, he may act a little different. But, you want to make sure that the birds is safe, and it's safe for everyone. But, if the animal control comes to your house and they asking you why you got all these roosters with the spurs cut, why are their combs cut, different things like that, you got a legitimate reason, and you got proof through a breed standard book as to why it's done and what you're doing with them. And then you can take out and you show them your certificates where you've been to this place and show them, that place and show them. And those certificates might be the difference between you keeping your birds and having to let animal control haul them away from there.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's been proven to be effective.
All right. Alan got what he was looking for. He came in right when we went past that. He was just curious what they were.
And if anybody has any questions about it, like I said, they can message me on Facebook and get a book from me, or I can give you my number if they've got a way to put it up or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I'm pretty much an open book. I don't hide from nothing. But or if anybody has anything particular they want to know, they can message me on Facebook, and I'll try to take a picture of it and send it to them to help them out.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy. But back on that section there, one thing is on there is faking. You'll see faking on there, and if you in the book on page 6, I'm gonna go back and read you that definition. I think it was I know people back in the day, they would try to present birds as a stag, and they would cut their spurs off and then whittle them down with a pencil sharpener. And then on a stag, you can take your fingernail and kind of pull the shuck off the outside of the spur.
Mm-hmm.
And they would rub tater juice on it and let the tater dry. And it says self-evident attempt to remove or conceal a disqualification or defect, thus creating a merit that does not naturally exist. This will disqualify the entry. But some people may try to cover up stuff, and that's what that faking is on there if you see it.
Yep. And I mean, to me, I don't know how many times a person is allowed to get caught faking, but I think if you do that once, you should get a very stern warning, and if you do it again,
yeah,
I don't know too many shows that you'd be welcome at after that.
No, we don't. We've never actually we've never had to ban anyone from any of our shows. Most rooster men, when it comes to that kind of stuff, they're pretty. They're gonna try to bring their best. And my son gets upset with me because since I am a judge, if I'm going to be the only judge there, I don't bring my birds because I don't think it's fair for me to judge my birds. And, if we have more than one judge, I'll bring birds, but I'll put birds in a separate class. And that I'm not, and he judges that class and I judge another class. And, my son had told me, he said, Daddy, we go to North Carolina to the shows up there. We win trophies and ribbons. He said, but in South Carolina, we don't win trophies and ribbons. He said, I'm about sick of this. He said, you want to not take the best, because I worry about people saying that, I'm trying to cheat or something like that or whatever. And I don't want that to be the scenario. So I'll bring something that I know won't score the greatest thing on my yard just because. But he told me, I'm sick of this. He said, we're not doing this anymore. And I'm just taking a bird because I want a certificate, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So my mentor, he was brought up around chickens and around them for all of his life. And when he became a judge, he actually quit showing.
Right.
For a while for that exact reason. He didn't want somebody to make any claims about anything being a certain way because he was a judge, even if he wasn't judging his own birds or whatever. To me, that's just the good character person thing to do. So I don't blame you for that.
Yeah. Well, and when it comes to the GBA, we're already under the microscope enough from people who say the GBAs don't do nothing. They just take your money and hold it up and don't do nothing and stuff like that. But like for us, we charge $10 for the first bird, $5 for every bird after that. For the shows, and we usually spend it usually costs us anywhere between $135 and $165 for the 4 trophies we give away. Then we buy the ribbons. Then we have to buy antigen, because in South Carolina, we have to go and be MPIP certified in order to do that polio and typhoid test. And we do our own blood test, and the state vet don't come and do it. We have a good enough relationship with the state vet that she allows us, if someone from another state wants to bring a bird, they can bring the bird, and she allows us to fill out an out-of-state form, and we test the bird just like everything else, keep it on a separate form, and she allows us to have birds from other states come and show. In North Carolina, if I want to take a bird to North Carolina, I have to take him and have him tested for typhoid and tested for avian influenza with 30 days, no more than 30 days prior to that event.
Right.
So if North Carolina has 6 poultry shows a year, and I want to take birds to all 6 poultry shows, I've got to take the birds that I'm carrying to North Carolina to the vet 6 times a year, because that certificate's only good for 30 days.
Right.
So luckily for us in South Carolina, we have a good relationship, and it works out great for us, because we have a lot of crossover from North Carolina that comes and shows birds with us, and we welcome it, and we just try to do the best we can, and we show birds, and it helps the guys in North Carolina when they have certificates from South Carolina and North Carolina, and it's showing that they're traveling with their birds. So
that's why they're riding around with them.
Oh yeah.
And you know, another thing too, a lot of people talk about the hoarding of money, but you know, I don't know too many cockers out there that don't know how much them pens cost.
Yeah.
And if you ain't been to a show lately, there's quite a few of them. Yeah.
Well, so we bought 20 brand new dropout pens this year just for our poultry show.
Just for a show.
Just for our poultry shows, because we were before, we would call up a class, and the people would bring their birds in their dropout pens and put them up there. And some people had good dropout pens. Some people had dropout pens made out of 2x4 wire, which is perfectly fine. It works, it's effective. But you know, like this year, I went to get a bird out of a pen that was in a 2x4 dog wire homemade dropout pen, and they were really light, and he flew against the side of the pen. The door fell down. It scratched me across the face, across the eye, across the ear, and I was bleeding the rest of the time I was judging. And you know, so we just decided to go in, and I'll be honest with you, those green Filipino dropout pens that's 4 foot square at the bottom, I wouldn't give you 50 cents for a truck by load of them things. They aggravate them. You can't get the birds out of them. And if the man's got a crazy bird, he flies out the top while you're trying to get him out, and you got to chase him down a dip net, and half his tail feathers is broken. You know,
you can't judge him then.
No, I like the little 2 foot by 2 foot square ones. The lid splits in half on top. It makes it easier for everybody. They take up less space. It's easy to get the bird in and out, and you get a lot less damage on the bird getting him in and out. Well,
see, in that way too, everything's uniform. So, because I know a lot of times people say, "Oh, well, they know that's old so and so's pen because of this or that or whatever." Well, see, if they're all the same, and you're not standing there when they put them in, you don't know whose bird's what.
Well, my son, he clerks for me, and he'll go out and he'll call up black-breasted red, dark leg. And well, while I'm over here getting the paperwork to judge the next class, people are bringing their birds up and putting them in, and then people walk away. And I go down through there, and he picks the coop tag up. The coop tag will have the band number, the owner's name, and the band number that was issued to that bird. Because when we test them, we have to put a band on them for agriculture.
For your records.
So when I pick the bird up, I check the band number. I read him out the band number. He confirms that the coop tag and the band number match. We judge the bird, and I never see whose name is on it. I mean, it's by the time you judge 50 to 75 birds, you don't remember what your buddy's kelso looks like over there. You saw 2 hours before, you know, you just don't remember. And, you know, in the past, we used to just start on one side of the parking lot, and this guy, he might have a kelso pair, a white hackle pair, and a blue pair at his tailgate, and you judge all 3 of those, and you go to the next pen, and it had 2 grays and a kelso, and it just made it a lot. It was a lot more trouble at the end of the show, trying to go through and separate everything into classes and get everything done. See, now we got a system up to where when we judged class number 1, while we're judging class number 2, they're tallying the scores. And by the time we get 2 done, take them, those 2, and then we judge in 3, and they tallying the scores, and it moves things along a lot faster. We're able to achieve and find out who the winner is a lot faster. And if we do have a tie, we can pull those birds back up pretty quick and judge them again. And it works fluid for us. I know some, and if I just think if you're going to go and you can take this test. The judges judge like I judge birds. I've never judged birds and gotten paid. Nobody in South Carolina GBA gets paid. It's all 100% volunteers. I hook this trailer behind my truck and I pull it 4.5 hours one way, volunteer. And we go do it because I enjoy the birds. I enjoy meeting the people. I enjoy talking to people. And if you come to enough of the meetings and come to enough of the shows, they once were acquaintances. Now they're friends and they become family pretty quick. Because you see the same people, a lot of the same people over and over. And we're going to start a point system this year at our February show. It'll be the first show of 2025. And we're going to give points away for grand champion. You get a certain amount of points for grand champion cock, grand champion hen, mated pair. You get a certain amount of points for first place, a certain amount of points for second place, third place, and so on, and a certain amount of points just for participating. And then whoever accumulates the most points between February and December, they'll get like Cocker of the Year trophy. And
that'll be cool.
Kyle Newton here in South Carolina, he owns a deep feed store in Union, South Carolina, and we're going to give away $100 gift card to along with that to his store. He sells feed, supplies, medication, dropout pens, that sort of stuff. And you can spend that. That'll give you extra $100 to spend with him. He comes to our shows, so you won't have to pay shipping. You'll be able to pick it up right there from him. He comes to all of our shows and supports us and helps us out. And we just trying to make things better, man. Trying to move things along.
So there's a show at the end of this month, right?
North Carolina we had our annual meeting this month, September, the end of September. Last month we had it in Hartsville. It was like a meet and greet. We had ours there. North Carolina is having one at 4th weekend in October. End of the month. I don't remember the dates right off, but it's the last Saturday in December. I mean, in November, October.
It's the 26th.
Yeah, 26th, I think it is. And it's a meet and greet. There'll be some supplies there. There'll be they're going to do a live auction. I know Gene Baudier, Bill Plummer. I think I'm not sure who all else, but it's on the North Carolina Gamefowl Breeders Association page. But they're going to do a live auction. I think they got 10 lots of birds. I know Jeff Hudspeth is putting up a pair of birds. I think Bill Plummer's putting up some birds. Gene Baudier puts up some birds. I can't remember who else right off the top of my head. But it'll be at in Albemarle at the Recreation Center, the Equine Center there in Albemarle Fairgrounds. Yeah. And everybody's welcome to come. You can come and they have a live auction there. They'll have a meal provided. They'll sell raffle tickets. They'll be giving stuff away. They'll give a lot of stuff away. I mean, lots of stuff. They're selling raffle tickets also for a Cub Cadet riding lawnmower. You can win that. They give away hog cookers, side by sides, all kinds of stuff. Jeff Hudspeth, he has a lot of feed. Sells a lot of feed stuff too, and he'll donate. They'll probably give away 50, 75 bags of feed most of the time, all kinds of stuff. Other people donate feed as well. Gerald Allen from Bell Farm, he makes a big donation for them too. So there'll be a lot of stuff there, and you'll be there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll see you
Rapido
there.
will be there. We'll have Rapido Red, and may have a few surprises that I'm gonna bring.
Yeah, and they'll
We're
be, and
we're,
like,
we're working on some stuff.
and Gene Bodier, he'll be there. Music Carol E. Smith's there. Bobby Fairchild's is there. You never know who you're gonna see there. Um, you'll see me there. I'm always there. And we'll be there with the South Carolina. We have some South Carolina GBA stuff there as well. Usually we got a calendar made. And our
I was gonna say
calendar,
that'd be a good place to buy one of them nice calendars that I
yeah,
got from you earlier this year.
yeah. I worked hard on those calendars and put those calendars together. And I think this is the first calendar. I know it's the first calendar I've ever seen where I've actually got the dubbing dates in there. So when you flip to October or November, whatever month it is, it's got the dubbing date. The word dub right on the days. The dubbing dates are in the calendar. There's a space at the bottom for notes if you want to put on there when you set eggs or whatnot. I've got some good looking birds on there. So after the year's over with and the calendar's no good, you can cut the top of the paper off and
Frame it and
Yeah, you can
do stuff like that.
That's right. That's what I do with mine. I have, but there's a lot of good birds in there. And if anybody wants that calendar, they can reach out to me. They can pick them up at our meetings for $15 or they're $22 shipped. And we'll get it sent out to you. And we got those calendars available. We got t-shirts, hats, hoodies, all kind of merchandise. We have all that of our shows available. And, we just get together and have a good time.
That's the main thing is guys getting together, having a good time.
Not only that, I mean, it's a lot. You do a lot of networking also.
Mm-hmm.
You out here been looking for the last year for some good blueface, and
I was gonna say if you're looking for a particular type bird, the best place to go is to a show. Everybody can show you pictures of stuff that they got, but when you go to a show, you see that bird, you see it walking around, you can handle it, and you can put it in a car with you and take it home.
I'll tell you something funny that happened to me at a show. I sold a guy a red pile hen. My son had some red piles, and I sold him a hen. Well, the hen was in one of those little Mexican carry boxes, and it was sitting on the toolbox of my truck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went out to the truck to get something out of the truck, and that hen had laid an egg, and it rolled out the Mexican box, down onto the toolbox, and then fell all the way to the ground. Well, he was inside eating, and I walked in, and I handed him the egg, and I was like, "Hey, that hen you just bought from me laid an egg." He stuck it in his shirt pocket. He said, "I'm going to carry that home and put it in an incubator." He carried it home, put it in an incubator. The egg hatched. It was a stag. He's pretty as he can be. So he bought a hen and got a pair.
There you
go.
I
just thought that, and I would have never thought that egg would have hatched after. I mean, I got a full-size Chevrolet pickup, and the box was sitting on top of my toolbox, and it rolled out of the box all the way to the ground. So it fell 5 feet, hit the grass, and then he put it in his shirt pocket, took it home, put it in the incubator, and it still hatched.
So that tells me that your bird's got some good nutrition.
Well,
yeah. They're getting all the calcium they need because that eggshell was hard as a rock.
Yeah.
I
fed too much eggshell one time and had a problem. I fed too much oyster shell, and the chicks wouldn't hatch. They would peep, but then couldn't get out the egg.
That's why I quit mixing it.
Yeah.
A lot of people they mix it in with their feed, and birds they're eating fast. They just eat what's there, because we don't want them to pick out certain things. We don't want them to pick, so they clean it up, and you give them too much. So that's why I like to feed something that's got normal levels of calcium that's good for a cockbird or hen, and I just keep oyster shells and grit all the time out, and they get it when they need it.
Well, I got a big cement mixer that I use to mix my feed up every day. So I mix the oil and the Rapido, and I'll go buy a 25-pound bag of oyster shells and a 25-pound bag of grit, and I put it in that mixer, and I mix it together, and I put it in a 5-gallon bucket, and I just go through there and I poke it out, and I throw out grit. I throw out the grit and oyster shell right together in the pen, and that's how I put it out. And it seems like I put out less oyster shell that way, but I'm putting out grit along with it. So it seems to be utilized a little better that way, I think.
Yep. They get the calcium they need and they get the grit that they need.
Right. And, I think last week you were talking about some of the grit's red, some of it's gray. And I went to Tractor Supply Tuesday, and I bought a bag of grit from there because I need to put some more out. And I opened the bag, and it was gray. And I took some of it and put it in a bucket in a cup and run water on it. And the gray is dust. That grit was gray until I wet it, and it turned red after that. And after I washed the dust off of it, it never turned back gray.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't know what it is about the red grit, because some birds will eat Milo and it's kind of the same color, but man, they'll leave that on the ground and they will pick up the gray stuff.
Well, I got a buddy he raises hogs, and they got a hog farm. They raise out feeder pigs. They raise feeder pigs out to slaughter hogs. And they got 2 different houses in 2 different locations. And one house feeds a red pellet. One house feeds a gray pellet, depending on what stage you're at. And he brought me about 200 pounds of each one to feed, to mix in with some chicken feed. And they wouldn't eat them red pellets. And they eat other pellets. But I thought about something after we talked about that the other day, and I bet in a scenario where if the red granite was the only thing you could get, I bet you could put it in a mixer or take your hand and mix it up with some diatomaceous earth and change the color of it.
Yeah,
and that may make a difference.
I mean,
just a thought.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
It's better than it going to waste.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I will say it is getting to a lot of people start hatching this time of year, and some people wait till January, February. But Rapido Rooster, on our website, we now have Gamefowl size egg foam shipping pieces. You can put 14 eggs in here, and they're designed to go with the standard sized or the medium priority mail flat rate boxes that you can get from the post office for free. They fit snugly in there. They're like $6 a set. And so I have, in testing those out, I put eggs in them, and I can post some videos if somebody wants to see them, but kicked them across the floor and then sent them to another state and had over a 90% hatch rate. Because that was a test that I wanted to do with them, because a lot of times, you get shipped hatching eggs and they look like somebody played soccer with them. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually kick them around and see what happens. So we got those egg foam shippers that we just put on there today. I think it still says that it's sold out. There's some crap Shopify's got going on, but they will be available too.
That's cool. I got some eggs one time that was wrapped in bubble wrap and then packed in packing peanuts.
I got something like that there was also looked like they were scrambled. Now I had, the plastic containers that the mail carriers use to keep mail organized in their vehicle. They brought me some like that one day, and the bottom couple of inches of the box was wet. And I opened it up, and there was only like 4 or 5 eggs in there that weren't broken out of 2 dozen.
Wow.
Let's see. Do that again, Carrie, and send them to me in Louisiana. All right. I have to do that. Let's see. Somebody says best percent of protein fowl for training. I mean, it's 18-19% is good for fowl, whether you're training or whatever you're doing. I'd also check those amino acids. Amino acids are probably more important than the actual protein itself.
Kerry, I think a lot of people get hung up on the protein. And I was one of those people at one time, and I had a Walker Hound dog. This has nothing to do with chickens, but I had a Walker Hound dog. He was tricolor, black, white, and tan. Everywhere it was black, he was beautiful. Everywhere it was brown, he was beautiful. Everywhere he was white, he was bald. Every bit of hair fell out and looked bad. And I took him to the vet. And one of the first things I told the vet was, I'm feeding him a good dog food. It's 27% protein. And he looks at me and says, burnt motor oil is 27% protein. Would you feed him that? And he said, you got to break down that analysis a little more than 27% protein.
Yeah.
But the dog had a flea allergy and had nothing to do with the protein or the feed. But after he told me that, that's kind of always stuck with me. You know, the proteins, that it don't matter how much protein you got. If they don't have the amino acids to break down the protein to utilize it, it's a waste.
Yep. So somebody, let's see, looking for my cheat sheet for the answer to a question right here. I love when people ask questions about nutrition. That's the geek inside of me right there coming out. What percentage should the amino acids be? And I'll post this on the Rapido Rooster page here in a little bit. But according to 40 whatever years, because I don't want to tell his actual age, poultry nutritionist Jeff Maddox, and everything I have learned from him, these are the optimum levels for Gamefowl. Protein is at 18%. The fat is at 6%. Fiber is at 6%. Calcium is 1.2. With that in mind, you should have oyster shells available for all your hens because they need about 3.5%. So they will take extra. Phosphorus should be 0.75. Salt should be 0.35. Sodium 0.18. Vitamin A should be at 7,500 international units per pound. Vitamin D should be at 2,000 international units per pound. E should be 75 per pound. Lysine should be about 1.2%. Methionine should be 0.52%. Threonine should be 0.77. Cysteine, if it's in the feed, is 0.55, and manganese is 0.95 parts per, or 95 parts per million on the manganese. But that's the levels that he recommends.
And Kerry, it's like with chicks. If you buy a over the shelf chick starter and the calcium is low in it, lower than it needs to be, one thing that has worked well for me is if you go to any pet store, they sell that calcium powder that you dust crickets with, like you got bearded dragons and stuff, and you can add that to your chick starter, a little teaspoonful of it to a gallon of chick starter, and it'll boost that calcium level in it. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever thought of that besides me, but I do that. And it's dust, like dust, and it'll help boost that calcium.
It does. It works really well. And I'll also say that I have only seen mixing Rapido, but John Anthony Marks turned me on to feeding Rapido to baby chicks like you would do grit for an adult bird.
Yeah, you put it in a little feed cup.
Yeah, I mean, he just puts it right in there with them.
Yeah,
they'll eat it. And so you can do that. Now, I don't know that I'd do it every day because they may get, I don't know, chicks might be a little dumber than a regular chicken that's a little older. They might be a little dumb, but I doubt it. They probably would not eat too much. But you can try it. They'll definitely get the calcium and all the other amino acids that they're supposed to have today.
I got a pepper shaker.
Yeah.
In my kitchen, and it's labeled. It's got Rapido in it. And when I'm boiling my eggs, before I mash them up, I just like if you're putting pepper on a boiled egg to eat yourself, I just put a light dust and a Rapido on the boiled egg before I mash it up, and I give them that way also when the first week. It
works. Yeah. You can take 1 heaping tablespoon per pound and mix it in with their starter, and put that down and put down some raw milk every couple of days. You'll have some strong chicks.
Oh, yeah.
Folks, with that, we are out of time. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Y'all have a good evening.